Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, and this is episode 273, recording on August 23rd. You're watching it on the 24th or later. We've got some fun stuff, some skeptical stuff, and some... Miyamoto said what? News, but we'll go through all of it with our panel of hosts as always. On the line, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
It's good to be here, and it really is good to be here because over the weekend I was getting tests to make sure I wasn't dying. So, it's...
Wait, what?
Good to actually be here.
What happened?
Yeah, a little ambulance ride, trip to the ER, ultrasound on my leg, just all the usual stuff everyone has every weekend.
Well, I mean, that's just a typical Saturday night at the Winter household.
Yeah.
Honey, what are you doing? Let's go get some CAT scans. I'm bored.
Yeah. So not dying, but maybe dealing with pain the rest of my life. But, other than that, great. I'm doing great.
Well, we're glad you are alive. That much we are sure of. Speaking of cats, although I don't see any in the camera. Oh, I do. It's just being very still. Miss Whitland Bowers.
That's okay. We have this thing. Hey!
Oh, now the cat's interested. How are
Tez
you,
is
Q?
back. I'm being assaulted. That's how I am.
It's always a menagerie at Q's place every time we do the cast. Just a menagerie of animals. Love it.
If you poop on me, I swear to God.
I thought she was talking to me real quick. I was like, wait, I'm not gonna. Why would I poop on you?
I was looking at her.
Okay.
If you poop on me, I'm making chicken nuggets out of you.
Tez nuggets.
On that note, let's get started with the news. God, bunch of weirdos. All right, what do we got first here? Well, we've got a couple of neat little announcements. I'm going to go with the second one first, actually, gang, because I think this is the one we actually probably have the least amount of things to say about. And that is that Maplestory 2 is getting an official launch date. It is now set. You'll be able to play Maplestory 2. Those of you that have been waiting, decades for this game, it seems like at this point, on October 10th. But first, as is par with the industry, you could jump into a Battle Royale mode right now if you really wanted to jump into that. Now, to be fair, this is a little different than I feel like Skyforge was, Jason. This is actually a mode in the game that was available for testing and everything, and it's going to be in Maplestory 2 when it launches. This is just kind of, if you want to go in, create your character name, create your character, kind of lock that all down, get all that taken care of so you don't lose your name, we'll let you access the Battle Royale mini thing that we have in the game until October 10th when the game itself comes out. Now, let's be honest here, Jason. Did you ever actually think we would see a Maplestory 2 with how much vaporware this was for the longest time?
Oh, man, maybe there's still hope for Phantasy Star Online too, man.
Oh, god damn it. I knew it. Like, I even stayed away from any comments that might lead to, hey, it's finally coming out, and you do this to me.
I was fine until the last bit where you talked about vaporware and, not coming out and whatever, but yeah. It has been at least a decade, like you said, because I remember I first played Maplestory 1 in 2007, just before I got into Lotra, I played around with it. So yeah, I mean, they've probably been predicting this and teasing it and whatever for I don't know how long, so... But yeah, it's finally going to happen.
Q, to me, this is an odd one, though, because Maplestory, like it or not, Maplestory was, and to a certain extent still is, huge. It's been bigger in the past than it is right now, but it is still a big chunk of players eating up time in the Maplestory universe. And now I almost wonder if it's too late for a sequel. I'm sure it's going to have huge numbers right out of the gate. There's a lot of people that, will come back and take a look at it and things like that. But as far as longevity, I almost wonder, is it too little too late on this particular title? If you think about it, let's say, Jason, you picked up playing Maplestory at 15 and you really got into it. You're now 25.
When I was 15.
You're now 25, 26, and you're in a totally different phase of life as far as how much time and money you can spend on particular games. I don't know, Q. Is it too little too late?
I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I mean, it might be one of those things that it just attracts a different set of players that didn't get in on the early, in the early days of Maplestory.
So in my example, the people that were 5 at the time are now 15 and might jump into Maplestory too.
Right. And, they've got kind of like, I guess the Battle Royale thing is kind of almost an entryway, like, something to suck the new kids in. So possibly?
Founders
Not
Packs.
the first time we used Battle Royale and suck in the same sentence.
Hey, somebody commented on some piece that, now that Battle Royales may be slowing down in their view, that now we'll just continue to bitch about something else. Like we did we went from MOBAs to card games to Battle Royale. And you're probably right. We will bitch about the next thing, too. That's all we do here. We just complain.
They complain. I don't really care.
So it's got the same, cutesy feel to it. Founders Packs have been available, and if you were a founder, you probably already reserved your name. That's been open for you since, like, the beginning of August, early in August. But now, with the announcement yesterday, or technically the night before this recording, 2 nights ago, anybody can jump in and do their name reservation. So I'm curious, has anybody on this panel done so?
No, I'm good for now. I'll get my name when it comes out, because I don't choose a simple name like Awesome Mike or something like that. No, a little more original than that.
Little more. And you can still buy Founders Packs if you want to, and they will give you a 10-day head start, so you'll be playing at the beginning of October when everybody else jumps in on October 10th. So good news for Maplestory fans. Let us know. Of course, we'll be doing a first look on the video. I debated doing a first look on just the Battle Royale, but I thought that's, there's no real reason to, since the Battle Royale is inside the game too. So we're going to hold tight, and we'll do a first look on the title when we have full access to it.
Just an FYI, too, looking at the Nexon financial reports, they said Maplestory was up 61% year over year. So still doing something in Korea.
Well, and I would assume that a lot of that has to do with Maplestory moving through development for this year too, and a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon to maybe check out the original. So we'll see. I expect it to do well. Initially, I just have questions about longevity.
Opportunity to test PvP.
I don't want to start that movie. Everybody, that was a YouTube video we'll be talking about in a few minutes.
Sure, a YouTube video. That's the movie you're watching.
Yes, that's what I use. When it's time for that, I turn on Nerd Slayer. You're right. You caught me, Jason.
I was thinking more of the sucking, but anyway.
Also, we've got some Warframe news, and as always, Q with Warframe news. It will probably actually come out moments after we record this, because that's just what they do over at the digital extremes. We're getting a new Warframe this week, and I sent you guys a couple links that had other pictures for it, because I think it looks pretty badass. We're getting the Revenant, with a lot of different lasery type abilities. What was everybody's first impression, Q, of the model for the Warframe itself?
Warframe models always look pretty cool anyway, so they're so weird though. Like it's just one of those things that you look at them and they're so weird, but they're always just very cool. I've actually seen some though that I like better than this particular one. This one actually seems kind of like average for a Warframe to me.
Really?
But it's glowy. It's got like glowy, smoky bits. Or
yeah, but I mean, I've seen other ones that they're just like they're just kind of cooler because they're so different.
Interesting. I really, really like this one, and I like the whole, they stuck with the whole Eidolon type look, and that's why they made it very like lasery and stuff like that. I'm pretty impressed with it. And then we've got a ton of other news. Obviously, TennoCon just dropped a huge amount of news, and then we'll get the Garuda Warframe later in a future update here, coming up a few months from now, I think. But then we got soundtrack news. We got a ton of stuff, Q, about Warframe. They just keep chugging right along.
The soundtrack news is actually pretty cool. They announced that like I think actually not long after they put out that video with the song on it for the new content.
Jason, we won't be doing a ton of Melee yet. There's going to be there's a little bit of weight on that weapon as that's coming out in the Melee 3.0 update, which is doing some revamping across the board. That's kind of disappointing for me, I think.
That's kind of weird to me too. That they would actually launch the new Warframe without Melee. That's what I'm reading on this one site. That it'll come sometime afterwards after the 3.0 revamp. So, like, I guess he has a shotgun, so it's okay when you're up close. But it's just weird to have all that, but have like the promo picture of him with a sword. If that's not going to be there when you get to first play him. So. And
then Jason's idol spent a little time over at Digital
I watched
Extremes.
like 5 episodes of Xena Warrior Princess, something like that. But yeah. So that was just cool.
Yeah, what happened? She just like randomly showed up.
Well, she didn't show up.
She tweeted them first.
Yeah. No, I know she tweeted them, but it was like it was kind of like, "Hey, yo, I'm outside. Come let me in."
No, it was more of a, "Hey, we're in the area. We know you guys are here. We're big fans." And she specified that they weren't just big fans of the game, but also like their practices.
Yeah, the payment model. Yeah.
So she wanted to drop by for the visit, and they organized that really quick.
Yeah, the responses were just great. Like jaw drops on floor or whatever was what someone put on there. So yeah.
Yeah, I like the tweet was, "Dear at Digital Extremes, I am in the neighborhood. Do you accept visitors? We're big fans of your game. #Warframe and your ethical practices." And you're right. Some of the replies are amazing. Like Digital Extremes themselves, their Twitter account. "Wow, scoops jaw off the floor. Of course, we'll DM you." Somebody else replying, "Yes. What? OMG." That's got to be pretty awesome. I can't imagine what the employees at Digital Extremes felt when just Lucy Lawless is like, "Can I come in?" Yeah. Hell yeah, you can come in. That's got to be pretty cool, Jason.
If any celebrity wants to come and visit me here, I'll let you in.
Well,
we'll work it out somehow.
You are at a high facility or a high security facility, though.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Make sure you come during visiting hours. So.
Only after mealtime. After I got my little cup of gruel, then yeah.
I also like this one. This is from Helen J on Twitter. The reply: "The warrior princess is a space warrior. What?" Some great tweets. But that's got to be really cool, Q. I can't imagine. And I'm sure Blizz, we've seen them get this type of thing before from different celebrities. "Hey, we're in the area. Can we stop by?" But that's Blizz. They're huge. I just feel good for Digital Extremes having something like that happen.
Well, also with Blizz being in California, it's really
easier.
not hard for them to be like, "Hey, there's a celebrity right outside our door."
Right.
So.
A lot of them live right outside
the door.
What this also means, too, is next time you're in some random group in Warframe, Lucy Lawless could be one of the people you're playing with.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I will now always be on headset just in case. Just in case. Although I think that could get a little creepy with anybody that jumps into my group where I'm like,
"Are you Lucy?"
Well, she could have a secret ability and be like Robin Williams and disguise her voice.
Ah, true.
Because he did that all the time back in the day. Hop in, disguise his voice, troll the heck out of people, and then be like, "Oh, by the way."
Yep. P.S. I'm Robin Williams and I'm out. Yeah, very cool. Congratulations to the team at Digital Extremes. That's just got to really make your day. And I seem to be the only one super excited about the way the Revenant looks, but that's all right. I can't wait to get building. Last on before we move off to our next topic. So a while ago, we had a bunch of devs and even the director of production, Dallas Dickinson, leave BioWare and kind of go do their own thing. And Jason, that was the last we heard of them.
Yeah, they formed a company called QC Games, which they said at the time they were going to get a game. They're going to have it published by Nexon. And that was back in 2015.
Yeah. And then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Until
yesterday, when we got a peek at what they're working on, a game called Breach. Now, as Q learned, we will let you know that if you're looking to find their website, look for breachgame.com so that it doesn't get confused with a title from just 5 or 6 years ago that also bore the name Breach, which was an entirely different type of experience. So if you want to check out
Play Breach.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Playbreach.com. So playbreach.com is where you want to head, or just go to Steam. It'll be one of the most recent ones there. What we did find out is that they are working on not only its first title, which is like the co-op dungeon brawler, but we also found out that it's free to play, Q. So they kind of left BioWare, and I just spit all over my desk. I'm so excited about this one that I'm just spitting all over my desk. They embraced the free-to-play after they left BioWare and are working on Breach. But I think some of us on this panel might be a little more excited for this game than others. Q, generally, you were kind of excited until you read one key piece, right?
Oh, you mean the whole what's it called?
The player being the leader, the
yeah,
master.
well, yeah, kind of. It's a little weird in the description because it's the kind of the dungeon master, but it's also like apparently players don't have to play that particular thing, and it's just kind of in the game as a mechanic as well, from what I was getting out of it. So, but I'm not really big on the idea because it's kind of the 4v1 thing.
Yep.
Where the one is treated as a DM as well as the nemesis, and I'm not really excited about that.
Yeah,
hey!
but I do like it. It's not in the vein of like an Evolve. This is more co-op dungeon crawling than, hunters versus a big monster. So the way they kind of describe this is and they use all over the thing the word variety. 18 classes to choose from at launch, each with a ton of customization options. Each level's and these are all like procedurally generated, aren't they, Jason?
They talk about
it's kind of like different every time, but not true procedure from what I was reading.
I tried to figure that out based on what they were saying, and I'm not sure if it's that or if Dallas Dickinson was just kind of going overboard and was like, it's different every time because you have different classes, different monsters. I don't know if the physical layout of the levels is different, though. So.
Right. So each level is presided over by the Veil Demon, and the way they described this was kind of like a DM, but edgy, which this presentation also kind of warded this one off from the game a little bit. So we'll see. That player-controlled baddie sets the challenges that the heroes are going to face. They set traps. They directly take control of monsters. Multiple versions available of that. And they expect that matches will last or sessions, I should say. It's not really a match. Again, co-op dungeon crawling. About 15 minutes. You go from room to room, facing harder monsters and leveling up as you go. They're using real-world locations, so we'll see like Tokyo and Egypt and monsters themed to that type of stuff, and they've got a progression system that they're going to work on. So, but one of the things that they did say, Jason, that I really liked, and this was when they talked to PC Gamer, they said you can take a 3-month break and return to find your account at roughly the same power level as anyone who's more active than you. Now, I could take that as a good thing for somebody that might play casually, but then almost at the same time, my brain went, well, what if I invest a lot of time in it? Why should I? If leaving for a few months is just going to lead to the same. So there's a lot of stuff to be explored here, but I am kind of excited for this one. What was your initial first take, Jason?
To do your point, I think they're going to have a very strong cosmetic end game. So obviously, if you are the guy who plays a lot, you can get all sorts of wacky outfits and so on, but power level won't be different. You can still jump in those months later and still be on par, I think, with everyone. So maybe that's what you play for. But yeah, in general, I kind of like the idea, and I like, as we're saying, it's not an Evolve kind of asymmetrical thing where it's the 4v versus this powerful one. It seems like each of the encounters will be, a reasonable power level for the characters, but because there are a few of them, because the DM or the Veil Demon, whatever, can throw in some traps or take control, do a few special things, it's not this incredibly challenging, this guy would totally destroy you 1v1 sort of thing. I think it's going to be a little more little more indirect than it is the sort of direct trying sort of thing, and hopefully that'll be easier to balance as the game goes on. But yeah, it sounds like it could be kind of interesting if they can get what balance they're going to have right.
I'm kind of pumped for it.
I'm kind of pumped. I'm not super, but I'm going to give it the time of day at least.
It might be one of those things that is fine if you're playing in a group of people that you know.
Yeah. Oh,
My thing is if you do like random matchmaking and you just have like some I'm not nearly as down with that on something like this. But if it's like you act like a case of DMing would be if you were actually sitting down at the table to play with somebody,
right.
Where you know the person who's doing it, then. Okay. Also, on a completely different side note, wasn't it the BioWare devs that originally left to go make beer, or was that somebody else?
Jason, you'd be better equipped. You followed
don't
them a
know.
little more.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't follow beer, so.
It was the two heads of one of the companies, and I swear to God, it was BioWare. They left. They left to go make beer.
Dr. Ramazuka and the other.
Okay. Okay, I was just sitting
right.
here thinking that, and I'm like, wait, didn't somebody go to make beer?
They don't need to actually work anymore. They have butt tons of money.
So that was what, Greg Zeschuk?
Yeah, right.
Is that right?
And
left
Ray,
BioWare,
whatever.
to go make beer. Wow, cute. Good memory on that one. Really good memory on that one. So I'm kind of pumped for this one. Obviously, it's nice seeing that they're going to go free to play, but they don't have EA behind them because they're not BioWare anymore. But interestingly, when and I'm sorry the details are sketchy on this one, gang. This is the first anybody's kind of heard of this one, and details are just naturally being sketchy right now. It's not us trying to hide things from you. They're not available. However, one interesting thing we did note was that now, all these years later, as Q fends for her life against ravenous birds, Nexon's name was nowhere to be found, Jason.
No, and it's not even on the Steam page. It even says published by them, by QC Games. I've reached out to their PR. I've reached out to 2 people in their PR to ask about this, and I haven't heard a response yet, so I don't know, maybe sort of, but at least officially there's no mention of Nexon's involvement.
So we'll have to stay tuned on that. Maybe Lawbreakers soured a lot of people.
In fact, do they have anything on that in the financial report? Let me just check real quick.
Oh, interesting.
No, nothing in the last one,
So we'll be definitely keeping our eye on this one. We won't be obviously playing it for a while, I would assume. But I can't wait to get my hands on that one. Speaking of games that I was really pumped for and then just kind of didn't pan out. We've still got Wildstar still chugging along. Every time we see news on Wildstar, it continues to be something else being added to the cash shop, an XP event, or a housing event as far as decorating houses and things like that. And I think the Wildstar community is getting a little pissed that there isn't something besides those things going on in the game. One of the things we talked about on a show a while ago, and I forget the topic, was if you know me or you've watched the show, I'm a big fan of Nerd Slayer on YouTube. I think his Death of a Game series is a fantastically researched series, and we've mentioned it in conjunction with other games that we've talked about. In fact, I think when we did Lawbreakers and we talked about that, what else? The other one, the battle royale that the
Radical Heights.
Yes, thank you, Radical Heights that they did. So it came as no surprise that Nerd Slayer did a video, and this was a while ago, and I didn't really think much of it. I saw it the day it posted, which was like early June. A Death of a Game Wildstar, and I watched it and thought it was interesting and everything. And Jason, I think you watched it too at the time, or part
Some
of it.
Yeah.
But going back to it, turns out there's some interesting commentary going on there. Now, a viewer sent this to us as well. Now, we had already seen it, and we're kind of working on some stuff in the background. So, I couldn't really tell them what we were looking at, but let me pull it up. I do want to give credit. This was from Gessly. sending us, hey, did you see this comment on this Death of a Game Wildstar video? Now, yes, we had already seen it. We were looking at it. Now, it's posted by somebody that goes by the name Sam No One on YouTube. So I'm assuming that that is not the person's real name. Checking out their channel, they have 0 subscribers. They don't have any content. It seems like a YouTube account created for anonymity's sake to post this specific comment. Now, I can't confirm that that's the case. I can just tell you that's what it looks like. But the comment overall was pretty interesting, Jason.
And very long, but yeah.
We're not going to read the whole thing here, so.
Yeah, well, he starts off by saying he's an ex-dev on Wildstar and he worked on the game for 5+ years. He says, I worked on the game for 5+ years, and let me tell you, this game was destined to fail way before there were any issues with servers or not enough updates. So he goes on about how basically all of upper management were idiots for the most part. He doesn't get into like NCSoft or anything like that because, of course, NCSoft is the bane of everything. They kill all their games because they're evil. But he really just goes on about the Carbine guys and the guys in charge there, guys like Jeremy Gaffney and Corey. Oh, no, he was okay. He left. Trying to find the other names here.
Tim Kaine,
that's right. But yeah, he talked about, he says too many cooks in the kitchen that can't cook anything other than mayo and beef jerky sandwiches. Bad direction from the top down. Tim Kaine, he says, specifically made way more problems than they were worth. And the guy was a total dick, is what he says. Awful to work with. Nothing he did ended up in the game. His lack of leadership was one of the reasons why the first 4 to 5 years of the game were almost completely thrown out. He says it was actually in development for closer to 10 to 11 years. Basically, kind of goes on about a lot of the same stuff that we've often talked about. There's a bunch of ex-WoW devs thought they were the bee's knees or whatever, and we're going to make the best WoW clone game ever without being a WoW clone, and playtesters just tell them to make it harder and harder and harder and harder. They listened to them, and it just all went to hell from there. So
the part that I liked the best, Q, here was when he or she starts talking about war plots. Specifically being broken from the minute that they were created. And prior to that, PvP, particularly 1v1, being pretty fun, some balancing that they needed to do, but it was unique, it was exciting, it was engaging, but most of that was thrown away and replaced with things that weren't tested, and specifically calls out war plots, and how war plots was basically broken and just reported to the higher ups as being complete, and would have utterly been totally unplayable had artists, prop artists, not learned how to go in and script and fix some of that to make it as functional as it was, Q.
Well, the thing is if you read through it, he mentions artists several times throughout this thing as people that are pretty much just being shit on. Like, the person who's actually responsible for the art style, which it was one of the fairly appealing things about the game, to be honest. Corey Loftus leaving because the art director, who apparently nosed into everything, got all up in his business too, and just stop.
That's what he was saying too to the art director. Just stop.
Right. And then later on, whereas he's talking about the artist who actually designed Double Jump and did stuff for the hoverboards, and then got in trouble for doing this thing. And it's just like, really, you're shitting all over your freaking artists.
Yeah, and the one you're talking about, this YouTube account actually has a name. I'd like to say that the first post is dead on, right? But I have no way of validating that. We're reporting it as it is posted there, assuming the best of intent, and this is somebody that was inside the industry. But let's classify it right now, Jason, I think for sake of reporting accurately, let's report it as rumor. Sure. Because we can't validate it at the moment. Now, I do have a little more confidence, but again, still rumor-ish, in the comment that Q you're talking about, posted by Aaron Robinson. And I'm going to read some of this to you.
This was all the same comment.
Oh, this was the double jump thing.
Yeah.
What I'm talking, double jump and hoverboards.
Well, Aaron Robinson posted, artist who implemented double jump here chiming in. Everything in here is true. The game's faults, and this is in reply to the anonymous post, the game's faults weren't in the decisions after launch or the pricing model. The company was a fucking nightmare to work for, all due to, and I'm not editing this because I want you to get the feeling here, all due to the higher-ups being so poor at their jobs. I got in trouble multiple times for implementing features in my free time or even giving opinions that didn't agree with the people in charge. Was constantly told to just sit at my desk and make props and nothing else, even though I implemented one of the features players loved the most, double jump. People who knew me there knew I could implement fun features and had an eye for the game feel, but I got in trouble for everything I made, even if it was fun and added to the game. The art director was awful. Him and I had disagreements in email, and the guy called me into his office privately and cursed me out and told me to go home. Then he had my lead fire me for being unprofessional the following week. So and it goes on. I mean, it goes on. And there's tons of replies to this. Some of them claiming to have worked for Carbine during this development. Again, take it for what it's worth as far as who actually was there. I tend to believe some of them more than others, just based on the evidence that I can find backtracking them to Carbine. But all in all, Jason, I think it just confirms what everybody felt. Even in the original post. The switch to targeting a hardcore audience was made very, very late and was needless in an industry that was being carried by casual players. It was just bad decision-making and bad management. I don't think any of it comes as a surprise. I think the surprise is more how bad it actually was, not the fact that it was bad, right?
I'm surprised that it's still running.
Yeah,
that it did even as well as it did at launch, because it actually was pretty good for its first 6 months or so. In terms, if you look at the NCSoft financials, it didn't do so bad. But
yeah, but looking back, it was a new MMO in a time window that had almost nothing new MMO wise going on to counter it.
And there were so many people emotionally invested in it before it even came out that they were going to get some of that.
And some people were going to buy 11 boxes of it, so, whatever.
Hey, I threw all but one away, actually.
Yeah, but you still gave them your money. You still contributed that NCSoft financial report.
Oh, yeah, well, I have a ton of mounts you can't possibly get, so shut up. It was.
He also mentioned mandatory crunch for what? 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. every night, 6 days a week for 3 months straight. So.
Yeah, that's just...
I mean,
and he got a talking to
game,
because he once came in 10 minutes late.
This game, and I stay away from comments like that because it's very easy for somebody to say, I was 10 minutes late and they chastised the hell out of me, but look, I worked 70 hours this week. When, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm getting the whole situation from you because you're the disgruntled employee in some views there. And hey, you know what? If you're working 70 hours and you don't want to work 70 hours, fine. We have policies. You got to be here 8 to 5. I hate just getting into that type of minutia because you don't know the rules. You don't know both sides of that. So I kind of edit sentences like that. I look more at the crunch time that they detailed and just going, that's unacceptable. There's no reason for that in this industry anymore. And kind of just gloss over I was 10 minutes late and got held accountable because maybe it wasn't the only time the dude was ever late. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure aggressive crunch time is one of the reasons that Steve Jobs originally got fired from Apple.
Yeah, there's just no reason for it anymore. We talked about that on this show in relationship to another game, too. Nothing surprising here, just surprising the depth that it was. And this was a game that, Q, you were talking about emotional investment. This was big enough to be its own. It wasn't in Twimo anymore, right? On Game Breaker. It was moved to its own show.
Unicorn Duck Shadow Puppet?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah. I bet it moved to its own show and carried an audience for a while. It wasn't just hey, here's a Bless Online. Let's cover it on Twimo and move on. It's sad. I think it had so much potential, but
Oh
it's even
God,
sad.
I hate that. I hate so much potential.
No.
I
You
hate
didn't
that phrase.
let me
I hate
finish.
it,
You didn't let me
hate it.
finish.
No, you don't have to. I hate that
him-
phrase.
let him finish.
I'm not saying that I think it had potential at launch. I don't. I think it was gone at that point. From everything I've read and heard, the game had potential in its initial direction, where they wanted to take things. It just never got
Every game has
there. It
potential
just
when
never-
it's described.
No,
I can
no,
describe
I'm not
anything.
talking
It would
about
be the greatest thing
described.
ever.
I'm not talking about somebody sitting down and saying, this is the game I want to make and saying that has potential. If I take some of these comments at their worth, these sound like very, very good concepts that were already in development, that were already being tested, that were already playable, that were heading in a great direction. And then that potential was squandered by leadership. That's different from Jason's got a good idea, and I think that has potential.
They
to become a
sounded
good game.
great. How could they not have been perfect? Everything was great until people got to play it. I know, sorry. So much potential is just a phrase that it gets me. Every game has so much potential until people actually play it.
It's an interesting read. Again, I would caution, put some grains of salt in there just because you don't know, and we're backtracking some things to try and validate them and do. So keep your eyes peeled to MMO Bomb for more content on that one, but it's definitely worth a good read. 100 and some replies, and I pretty much read every single one because they are interesting. Moving on and finishing up before we go to the bombs, Mr. Miyamoto himself. Miyamoto-san kind of thinks that maybe free-to-play shouldn't be as big as it is anymore. Which, that's bad news for us, guys. That's bad news for us, being a free-to-play site. But, Jason, this isn't coming out of nowhere, and I can't say that I disagree with him all that much.
I don't disagree with him. I just think he's a little late to the party, as Nintendo generally has been with regards to free-to-play, wrapping their brains around it. But yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto, of course, Nintendo legend, creator of Mario and all that, was speaking at a conference yesterday, I believe. And according to this reporting comes from Bloomberg, who I suppose had someone there or got it translated, whatever. And he said, basically, that the industry shouldn't rely on free-to-play because of the exploitative practices and the spring up around it, and how in the long term that sort of thing is damaging to the industry. He said that you should use fixed prices because, quote, if we can deliver games at reasonable prices to as many people as possible, we will see big profits. His belief is that's the better way to go in the long term. And it sort of echoes how Nintendo has often been through the years, how they just kind of dipped their toes into free-to-play a few years ago. Been doing a little bit on that. Of course, we talked about the Switch and how it might have free-to-play games on there, but I guess that's more of a third-party thing. But in terms of developing their own stuff, he doesn't believe that it's the best route necessarily to go for a lot of things.
Well, and somebody commented on this piece, and I believe it's based on the picture, the user's picture. I'm pretty sure this is Razor. If it might not be Razor, if it is you, great. If not, then we'll attribute it to the name you put on the comment, which is "Time is money." And I think this is a pretty apt point that they make, Q. Quote, kid bankrupts parents by spending tens of thousands on cash shop, and, quote, game marketed at children contains gambling in the form of loot boxes, are kryptonite to any company that is built on a family-friendly brand. So it's not surprising to see Nintendo, through Miyamoto, take this type of view.
No, I mean, he's not wrong. But the thing is the companies that are building these games, they're relying entirely on whales anyway to support the rest of the stuff. And I don't know. The other thing is Nintendo doesn't really do like MMOs and things like that, so they don't need to keep a viable community where there's actual activity and other players doing stuff, which is easier to do if the game is free to play, because even people who don't have money can hop in and do stuff, and there'll be people to party with and stuff like that. That's not Nintendo does co-op usually at the most multiplayer version.
Right, there are online and community-driven games, but those are an aspect of a bigger game, something like a Splatoon 2, where there's the single-player experience, and then by the way, there's online as well. There's not, to your point, there's not such a need to keep growing that community because this is our sole source of funding
it's like
for
10,
other things.
10 players max, or
Right.
you know, whatever in there. So it's not as big of a deal. And for games like that, I mean, yeah, in my opinion, like, go ahead and stick with your box price. Like, make it a reasonable box price, but just go ahead and stick with that box price. That's totally fine. But if you're talking MMOs, it's just way easier to keep your community up and then milk the people who have the money to throw at it for, you know, all the shady stuff.
Yep. Let's see. I just literally got an email about Warframe. We're still recording, so I'm going to take a look at it real quick. I will release an all-new Warframe this week on Steam PC entitled Mask of the Revenant. PC update contains the Eidolon-inspired Warframe the Revenant. Yeah, we already talked about that. No, it just still says sometime this week. So yeah, it'll be after I hit stop on the recording here.
Exactly.
This is kind of a late presser, though. This isn't like a general, you know, player email. This is an actual presser, just coming now. Q, I'll send it to you if you want to add some of these assets or videos into the piece we already have. That's great.
Okay.
All right, let's move on and close it out with some weekly bombs. I'm going to go first. Mine is very simple, straightforward, and fast. An A-bomb to Cliff Bleszinski's book, where he tells it in his words. A-bomb. That is all.
Is he going to title it My Way?
I don't care. Jason!
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Mad Max. It's a video game that came out a few years ago. It's got a very kind of like Shadow of Mordor kind of feel to it in terms of how the combat works, but with cars.
Based on the Mad Max franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
Movie
Open world and everything. I picked it up cheap on the Steam sale a couple months back. Definitely worth checking out if you're into that kind of thing. If you're into like the open world kind of.
I was gonna say you're pretty late to this party. This got
I know.
good reviews when it came out.
I know, but if you're like me and you're a cheap ass, you know, you get it a few years later on a Steam sale. Fury Road was good too, so definitely watch that if you're into it.
Q.
Just okay. I'm actually going to give an A-bomb to random people that you just meet asking to have access to your Wi-Fi.
Oh, this is fantastic. Go ahead and explain what happened.
So, okay, I live in an apartment complex. It's not a very big apartment complex. It's basically like some buildings here, done. I'm out walking my dog one day, and everybody stops me to ask me about this dog. It's kind of hilarious because you would think that people have never seen a weenie dog before. But anyway, so, you know, this woman stops me.
What, do you have a dachshund?
Yeah, I think she might actually be part corgi, too. I mean, Barney got her years ago from some old lady that she belonged to. But anyway, so I'm out walking her. She talks to me about the dog. And then the next, like a couple of days later, 2 days ago, in fact, I'm out doing laundry. So I go down to the laundry room to get the clothes out of the dryer. I'm walking back. She stops me and goes to great effort to show me this pit bull puppy that she has. Very cute dog, right? And then today, early this morning, I'm out walking my dog again. And she, you know, her door's open, and so she peeks out and says hi. I say hi back. I have no idea what this woman's name is. Like, I've talked to her 3 times, and I'm going to remember your name. Like, she hadn't even mentioned her name, but even if she did, I probably won't remember it until, like, the 12th time I hear it. But, so, I'm, like, you know, standing there talking to her for a second, and then she's like, do you have Wi-Fi? And in my world, everybody has Wi-Fi.
Right.
Right. That's the way it is. So I'm like, you know, and she's like, well, what's your connection name? And I'm like, what do you want to use it for? Well, at first I was like, yes, but it won't reach because her apartment's on the other end of the property, like down by the road, and mine's on the back end. I'm like, it won't reach. There was somebody else that lived here that basically, if he wanted to use her Wi-Fi, he had to come hang out outside her door and use it on his phone. But so I tell her that, and she's like, well, what's the name on it? And I mean, if I said it to her, she wouldn't know what it was anyway. She wouldn't even have been able to figure out how to spell it.
Oh, man.
But I'm like, yeah, no, it's not gonna reach.
Hmm.
Like it's not gonna reach where you're at. And I wasn't really lying. It wouldn't reach where she's at, but I'm just like, I've spoken to you 3 times.
That's balls.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just balls. Hey,
Hmm.
Jason. Oh, your name's Jason? Great. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Well, see,
Do you
that's
like
the
your
thing.
new apartment? Hey, what's your Wi-Fi password?
She never asked my name. She doesn't know my name. I don't know her. She never asked my name.
Maybe she
in
watches
any
the
of the 3
cast. She knows who
conversations.
you are.
Now she'll know. Now she'll
Watches
know.
the cast, yeah.
I'm just. She doesn't have.
No, she
Wi-Fi.
can't watch this. I was just gonna say
Well,
that.
you can have regular internet on a
I
computer.
mean, but the thing about it is,
Dial-up
well,
modem.
that's the thing. What she's basically telling me is she does not have internet in her house.
Oh, okay.
So she wanted to use my internet to do her schoolwork, which, okay, fine. If that's the case, come knock on my door and say, hey, can I get on your computer for a few hours? Don't
Yeah, it's
like.
also different if you know them. I mean,
Right. Like we have a friend
Like,
who has
Jason's my downstairs
access
neighbor,
to our
fine, yeah,
Xfinity
there you go.
Wi-Fi. But I'm just literally like, I'm just standing there kind of going, eh? And to me, giving people access to your computers or your Wi-Fi or anything like that is like giving them access to your underwear drawer. There's just some things you don't share. So, yeah, it kind of shocked me. Like, that like we don't even know each other's names, and all we've talked about is dogs. But can I have access to your Wi-Fi?
I'm gonna start doing that on a smaller scale. Like anytime I go out and walk into, a mall or whatever, just walk out. Can I have $1? Excuse me. Excuse me. Can I have $1? Just do that over and over again, over and over.
I mean,
so in my house, internet-wise, there's 3 floors from my office to the bedrooms. So the kids with their computers and stuff, I have signal amplifiers and bouncers and stuff all over the house. So my Wi-Fi extends probably pretty far beyond my property line from all of these bounces and amplifications. So I, of course, named mine NSA van. Just because I'm sure my neighbors can see it when it pops up on their thing.
Ours is Raxacoricophalopatorius.
Yeah, I couldn't spell it.
No.
From the viewers,
So,
Wilfredo Rivera says, long time since I've posted anything. And this actually came from email. So I have a question/topic for the free-to-play cast. What should someone do if they're getting into a game that's been out for a while without feeling like a complete noob or being bullied out of the game completely? I'm looking into getting into Rainbow Six Siege or League of Legends, but I feel it's far too late for me to jump into these games because I've not put in the time to develop the skill needed to play these games without extreme criticism or harassment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks. I think this is a great question, Jason. What's your advice?
For a game like, I've never played Rainbow Six Siege. I've only watched it. But in general, for shooters, what I tend to do in a case like that is try to play like, I wouldn't say that like healers support are low low priority or low skill or anything like that, but try to take something where it's kind of hard for you to really screw up. Don't play the guy who's got to be the guy who swings in windows and shoots this guy and that guy and headshots here. I would generally try to play something that's a little easier to play, a class or whatever that, like I said, hopefully won't give you as much difficulty in adapting to the crew and figuring out what kind of tactics to use.
So not necessarily an easier role. I think what you're more going for is the less vital to the team.
Yeah,
it may
a
be
little
a
of
little
both if you
difficult
can,
to
yeah.
play, but
Like if you're doing like a dungeon in World of Warcraft, play one of the DPS, something like that. For League of Legends, no, you can't. It's a MOBA. They'll hate you.
Q, your advice.
okay, so I'm not sure about this on League, never having played it, but I know with Smite, they actually have a training mode where you can go in and learn to play before you actually have to go out there and deal with everybody else. So
It doesn't matter. Training modes, PvE, they'll still flame you when you don't, have top DPS or whatever the hell.
I know my advice is going to sound like very whatever, but do it with a friend.
Yeah.
That's literally what I do. Like even other games, CCGs, stuff like that. If I could just find, even though Rainbow Six, you got a squad, I forget what it is off the top of my head, 5, 6, something like that, players, even if you could just grab one person, Jason, hey, I'm going to go check out this game. You want to jump in with me for a little bit? And we'll just go check it out. Even if Jason's not going to stick around and play it, get those first 5-10 matches under your belt with somebody even if they're not going to play the game. That way you'll have a lock on all the controls, and then you can learn strategy. That's my advice. Even if you could just get one friend to do it with, it'll make it a lot easier and a lot more fun.
You still haven't offered to play Realm Royale with me. You know with all
We
this
got to
playing
play
time.
Magic Arena and do a first
Oh,
look on
yeah,
that
that's
one.
true.
I'll try to play I'll play Realm Royale with you. I can't say it, but I'll play it.
Jason,
right.
take the next one.
James Hirschfield says, "I hope NCSoft will make Wildstar 2."
Good luck.
James, they can barely make Wildstar 1.
Q, go ahead.
See.
Frosty, I like that spelling. A-Bomb to Lost Ark. Recently seen a couple more videos on it, and it made me sad. Guess I'll have to check it if it's any closer to release in 2025.
True story. Tikol2399 says, A-Bomb for Mike, saying his dad stormtroopered his way around that room in the dungeon, talking about my Zelda story last week. To stormtrooper something means to be completely inept at it. For shame, sir. Yeah, you're kind of, you got me. You got me.
I came this close to saying something about it last time and just kept my mouth shut.
You got me. My dad's aim was not very stormtrooper-like. Go ahead, Jason.
D. Dracon says, "I could actually listen to you guys ramble for even 3 hours."
All right, I'm going to add a link in the comments below for a good therapist. Go ahead, Q.
Yami Kami, dub bomb.
Is that a dubstep bomb?
I think
dub
Yami
bomb.
meant dub bomb.
I don't know. I like.
Chart. Bomb.
What is a dub bomb and where do we put it? For Monster Hunter World, the game is great. A-Bomb for Monster Hunter World's connection issues. I get kicked out of every third hunt after about 3 minutes or so. It really sucks. Also, I take the A-Bomb back from MMO Bomb Team and give you a dub bomb again. Oh, here we go.
It did it for real.
Dub bomb was the good one, right? No, it's duh.
D-A.
Duh.
We need the chart.
It's very outdated American slang. That something is da-bomb.
But I do like dub bomb.
I think we might have to find a way to put dub bomb in, though. Yeah, I agree with you, Q. Thank you, Yami. We appreciate it. Zach's Proxy says their whole post-Kickstarter online presence, referencing our Star Citizen conversation last week, videos/competitions, felt more like a reality TV show, and the style kind of spread to other games, online content, and maybe some actual development. Our question of the week last week, none of you gave a rat's ass about. So, will Bethesda's move to potentially exclude the PS4 from the Legends game, but probably more hinting at Fallout 76 being on that table, help push Sony to cross-platform play? And B. Short chimes in, says, I think it'll take a really huge title to begin to push Sony towards cross-play, something they stand to lose a ton of revenue if they can't put it on the platform. We can hope something happens, though, and B. Short, I think you're dead on. I really don't think there needs to be any other viewer feedback, which was good, because there wasn't any. So for this week's question of the week, answer the damn thing, people. Do you agree with Miyamoto? Should free-to-play be smaller than it is, or used less than it is these days? Would you like the days of just purchase it and be done back again? Because, Jason, there's a part of me that I would love if that was still the case.
But there'll still be DLC. There'll still be add-ons.
I know.
There's no way they're going to get rid of that.
You have to go way back to get purchased. And there was a downside to that. Whatever problems it shipped with is what you got.
Yep.
Forever and ever. Amen.
You can maybe do patches, but you're not going to have, like new nations and civilization or something like that. So.
Right.
Let us know what you think in the comments below. While you're there, be sure to leave your dub bomb, A-bomb, some dub bombs, some remix bombs, whatever the hell you want to put down there. Just put it down there. We'll read it on the show. If you've got a question for the panel like Wilfredo did, throw that in there as well. We'll be happy to take a stab at them. Until next week, Q, where can everybody find you?
Hanging out on Twitter at Quinlan, and maybe back on Mixer, doing some more stuff there at miscreation-q.
Jason.
Twitter, Winter Informal, streaming twitch.tv/Jason Winter, and hopefully no longer in a hospital.
That's always good. I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magicman. You can follow me personally on Twitter right there at MagicMan1. But more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so that you get links for all the latest articles, videos, first looks, free-to-play casts, and more, including some fun stuff we've got working up. Stay tuned. Until then, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.